Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us in this session. My name is Rind Alhage, and I will be your moderator today. I'm from the SG7 Youth Constituency, specifically the Global Support Team. We're very happy to have Marco Matteini as our expert today because he will give us a practitioner's point of view on his work at UNIDO. So before we begin, let's just go quickly through the housekeeping rules. You may ask questions at any time during the session. All you have to do is either ask it in the Q&A or the chat, or you have the option to raise your hand and ask the question directly. So if it's in the chat or the Q&A, I will interrupt Marco and ask him the question. And if you raise your hand, I will give you the floor. You can join with your audio and video, ask the question live. And then you should disconnect because we can't have everyone on the screen at the same time. Other than that, this is an informal session, so please don't be afraid to ask as many questions as you'd like. And we really want you to participate, so don't hesitate. You can start by introducing yourself in the chat for those who haven't done so already. And that's it. I'm just going to give the floor to Marco. And regarding the questions that we've gotten while we were waiting, I will leave them till, I will put them on hold for a few minutes so Marco can introduce himself, and then we'll start bringing in the questions.
Thank you very much, Rind, and good morning and good afternoon to everyone. And thank you for this opportunity. As Rind mentioned, I'm more a practitioner rather than experienced career coach, but I hope that what I will show will be useful or interesting. Very briefly, you should see now a slide. I have seen the message from Catherine a bit late, a bit of background. By education, I'm an electrical engineer, and actually I studied in Bologna. I saw Imane is now studying there. During my degree, I also spent 9 months in the UK with the Erasmus program. I then did a PhD in electrical engineering, still in Bologna, and I had, I would say, the privilege of having a applied research type of PhD, where I worked with two leading Italian and US companies. And during the PhD, I also spent 6 months as a visiting researcher in Denmark, where actually I got first exposed to renewable energy, in particular wind energy. During my university studies, I was also part of an association that was dealing with issues related to globalization, North or South themes. And that was also a first exposure to basically many of the things that I find myself thirsty to work on. And I didn't do the military service. I chose the civilian service, served for 10 months in a center that was assisting people with problems of drug addiction. I had a short postdoctoral contract in Bologna, but then I was selected by the Italian and UNIDO as a junior professional officer to work at the Department of Energy of UNIDO on renewable energy technologies, actually. I was there for 3 years. I then worked 5 years as an international consultant, and since 11 years, I'm now an industrial development officer within the Department of Energy. So it's been quite a long time for me in UNIDO, but I still love it. Maybe very briefly, for those of you who are not familiar with UNIDO, probably it will help, although I've seen that there are also some former colleagues. UNIDO is the UN specialized agency dealing with sustainable industrial development. And yes, the current mission is to promote and accelerate inclusive and sustainable industrial development. The work of the organization is grouped around 4 main strategic priorities that you see here. The work that I've been doing in UNIDO has focused on safeguarding the environment. Now, UNIDO is carrying out a wide range of activities to help its member states and to help sustainable industrial development at global scale. However, the core of the functions and the largest share of resources are directed to the technical cooperation projects and programs. And here I try to summarize a bit the process that is associated with this project and program, with the development phase, implementation phase, and evaluation. And there is a bit of description of the key activities that are related to each phase. In the development, it's a lot of problem analysis or engagement with governments, beneficiaries, partners. There is also a significant work that goes to fund mobilization. UNIDO doesn't have a large amount of funds to implement projects, so has to look and mobilize resources. And then there is, of course, the whole approval process. The implementation phase, if you allow me, is where work gets more interesting, and here there is a really broad diversity because UNIDO has technical departments related to different segments of the industrial development process. So you can work on energy, but you can work also on pollution prevention, agribusiness, entrepreneurship development, and so on. Now, to give an overview, this is the structure of the work that I have been doing during this period in my different functions. Maybe I don't go now into details. These slides, in case it can be made available, but if I can pick up just one point from each of these periods, certainly at the beginning there was a lot of learning by doing, and I have tried to also learn as much as possible on the services and all functions that the organization is performing in relation to technical cooperation projects. But I thought it would be important to understand the nuts and bolts of the organization work. During the work as international consultant, there was much more focus on technical, analytical assignment. There was more focus on being on the front line of activities, more also random request serving the department. As today industrial development officer, I think it's more on coordinating people. It's also more responsibility and troubleshooting. The very interesting part, I think, now is the direct engagement with the policymakers, with industry representative, and trying to come up with new programs that can have a transformational impact on the energy transition and sustainable industrial development. Cutting across all this period, communication was critical, is critical, and also collaboration with colleagues, negotiation with counterparts, meaning government, suppliers, are really cross-cutting elements of the work. Sorry, I'll stop maybe here as sort of a bit of background, and give it back to Rind if there are some questions.
Yeah, Marco, we had some questions about UNIDO, so I'm gonna give the floor to Thomas, who had some questions about UNIDO, about the themes of the projects that you do.
Yeah. Shall I stop sharing, Rind, or?
I think you can stop sharing in case someone has questions about this.
Exactly, then.
Great. So until Thomas joins, you can either ask questions in the Q&A or request to join with your audio and video.
So I guess you gave me the floor. Good morning and hello, Marco and Rind. I'm a researcher from the SRH Berlin University. We're looking into the productive use, that means income generating by energizing, especially with renewable energies. Can you give us a bit of an insight where in your career, where we have noted that you worked longer and longer hours, where you have encountered them, and what cases did you interpret as a success and as a failure, to make it that crass?
Thank you very much, Thomas. Now, UNIDO has been working, I would say now for a couple of decades on the topic of renewable energy for productive uses. I have worked on it during, let's say, my first life with UNIDO in the context, however, of small island states, which are particular. Now, we have some evaluation. I had seen your question before, and if you want, I can find a way to direct you to this evaluation. Now, a challenge that we faced was the time dimension associated with the project, in the sense that the productive uses, when not already there, are usually taking more time to be developed and established. But a kind of point where improvement is possible for UNIDO intervention is on the productive uses side. I mean, the projects were also very often developed from the energy perspective, so the energy supply perspective, and yes, the end use demand, creating and sustaining that demand was not covered equally well by the UNIDO intervention. So now we have improved, but I think it remains one of the challenges. I mean, especially in context where maybe the baseline is very limited, so where there are no users.
I fully agree with you, Marco. It also coincides with my experience. And you as an electrical engineer, you know very well how many mistakes we can do when we're designing a power supply. Let me say, for a little company that needs uninterrupted power, and where power in the global south is not always reliable. There you have power shortages, power breaking, and then to come in with renewable energy, say with the photovoltaics, where you have an erratic power source. That is one challenge. But also, as you say, on the other side of the income generating part, means that the business is reliable, and so that you match energy supply with productive production, if you wish. And I'm thinking of a boat builder that at the moment maybe is chiseling by hand, and instead you could use that with an electric tool, just providing 0.5 kilowatt, but in a reliable way. That I think is a difficulty for the designers. I could imagine also it's a difficulty for investors, be it a bank, be it like a United Nations organization. That's really a challenge to bring all of that together. I would be interested maybe afterwards to interview you more specifically.
Sure.
Thank you, Thomas. Feel free to use the networking feature, so where you can connect with any person who's attending the web, and you can also contact our experts later in your free time.
Please, Marco, send me your email address.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so I will have to ask you to leave the floor so we can give room to others. Okay, and now there was an anonymous question that was posted before the session about someone who was interested in a job as a scientific officer who contributes to writing reviews and reports. Are there jobs like this at UNIDO?
Yes, I would say that the type of competency is relevant for the work that UNIDO does. We have projects that are, let's say, closer to the industrial production floor or the service market for industry. If we consider, for instance, the Department of Energy, we are working on strengthening the service market for energy efficiency services to industry, or in some cases also for specific renewable energy technologies that have industrial application potential. So there is in many projects this type of if you want more practical on the hands-on type of work, but most of the projects they have also significant activities at analytical level, at policy development level, and there is always the need for carrying out market demand assessments or studies, comparative studies of existing experience, what could be more relevant for the country where UNIDO is implementing the project. So certainly also scientific analytical skill, expertise, and experience are very relevant. Then yes, UNIDO has recruitment area on its website. There is a need to register yourself on a web-based roster so that you become also visible to the project managers when they are looking for consultants or experts for some of their activities.
Thank you, Marco. Now we have a question also from the Q&A, but this time it's about UNIDO in general. So the audience member was asking, could you please share some details regarding the countries where UNIDO is actively working in the energy space? Is it active in the Global South as well, or just in the Global North?
Yes, thank you for the question. Now, by our mandate, UNIDO is working in developing countries and countries with emerging economies. We have, I think, the energy portfolio at the moment may well cover 70 countries around the world through country-specific projects, as well as through some regional or sub-regional projects. If we take the energy efficiency in industry program, we have been working in South Africa, Egypt, Turkey, North Macedonia, Ukraine, Russia, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Colombia, Ecuador. But let's say we are covering usually almost all regions. For instance, the renewable energy portfolio of UNIDO is particularly strong in Africa, where energy access is, for instance, still a big challenge, an issue. But we have now also sustainable city programs. I mean, the portfolio is really becoming more and more differentiated. But yeah, the coverage is global, I would say, outside the OECD. So again, developing country, emerging economies.
Okay, so basically, since UNIDO is focused on development, it focuses more on developing economies or emerging economies. So it's worldwide, but usually in these contexts in terms of their projects. We have another question about UNIDO, and we're still continuing on the same theme. What are the thematic focuses or avenues that UNIDO is focused on? So Milton asked, is UNIDO active in climate change for manufacturing?
Yes. Thank you, Milton. Climate change mitigation has been the umbrella driver for, I would say, the last 15 years of technical cooperation project in UNIDO Department of Energy. During the last 5 years or so, adaptation has also picked up. Now Milton is asking about manufacturing. Till today, the project that we have in manufacturing are mostly mitigation project and primarily energy efficiency project. To a lesser extent, renewable energy application, in particular solar thermal technology application in industry. However, having said that, because Paris Agreement and also the latest development on the international level, the topic of decarbonization of industry has reached the top of UNIDO's agenda, and not only. Just last June, at the Clean Energy Ministerial, there was the announcement of a new initiative on the deep decarbonization of industry. So, yes, the answer to Milton, and we plan, UNIDO is planning to even increase the amount of work for climate change mitigation in manufacturing.
All right, thank you, Marco. I'm also going to thank Christian, who sent a link where we can find info on past and ongoing UNIDO projects on the Open Data platform.
Thank you so much, Christian.
Yeah. I'm going to take the question from Iman. So Iman stated that she's doing, that she's in the University of Bologna doing research, and she was wondering, how do we integrate UNIDO? Is there a chance to start for internship?
Yes.
And should I send an email to a specific department, or do I have to check the website for vacancies?
I would say both are, I would say there is an internship program in UNIDO, and there is a need to submit an application on the UNIDO website. I think it is under the section on employment related to human resources. However, if the candidate may have a specific interest in a certain field or country or region, and searching on the internet, they have identified some possible contact persons in UNIDO, I personally appreciate when I'm notified interest, and then the process is contacting human resource to ask for the availability of interns. But let's say the process is fairly flexible, but it is necessary to register and submit this application for the internships that can be minimum 3 months, maximum, if I'm not wrong, 6 months. Although possible to get exceptions and extend it, I think, to real maximum of 9 months. But for instance, internship, it's not possible to travel. The internships are, let's say, either in Vienna, or if a candidate is in a country where UNIDO has an office, it's possible to do also an internship in the country or regional office of UNIDO. But it's not possible to go on missions or this type of things.
Okay. So since we were talking about regional missions or specific projects, I'm gonna ask the last question, which is which was from Constant. What are the UNIDO current portfolio for just transition in Africa LDC?
Good question. Now we have for Africa, I mean, a program that over the last few years has really gained traction, and which I personally find a really excellent program, is the global network of sustainable energy centers. This is a network of centers that are providing expertise and advice on energy efficiency and renewable energy to regional policy making institutions. The first one was established probably now almost 10 years ago in Cape Verde for the ECOWAS region. Now in Africa, I think we have 4 centers. One is for Eastern Africa. There is one for Southern Africa region. And these centers have been really supporting the development of stronger policy frameworks for renewable energy first, and recently also on energy efficiency. Another, yes, then we have, now I'm sorry, I cannot mention the specific countries, but we have a significant portfolio, of course, of renewable energy based mini grids. Tanzania, Kenya, Mozambique, South Africa, Nigeria, if I remember correctly, Cote d'Ivoire, but and also North Africa.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us. I'd also like to make sure that everybody has been looking at the chat, because many links were shared by UNIDO staff with articles or links for the internships or website. So basically in this session, we had many questions. First, we had some questions about UNIDO. Now we know that UNIDO works in developing and emerging economies on many different topics related to energy or to industries, for example, energy efficiency. We talked about specific programs that are happening in Africa in the latest segment. And for practical advice, if you want to join UNIDO, there are either internships on the website or other opportunities in the recruitment, or you can also identify specific people. So thank you all for joining, and I invite you all to go back to the main session and enjoy the rest of your day. Marco, any last words?
No, thank you very much, Rind, for guiding me also last week, and thanks to really all the participants for making the time and for their questions. And yes, please check the links that have been shared, because I think you will find some very interesting information. Thank you.